Hello, my name is DuFay. This video's I've done before on other channels, but this is a discovery I made, and I believe it to be a prehistoric pyramid in Nevada. You saw it there in the upper right-hand corner. It's in this region. Right on the borderline of California and Nevada, but it is in Nevada. I triangulate it by those two lakes there, Walker Lake and Lee Lake, I believe. I'm off. It's real difficult to find. I'm proving it right now. It's those two lakes there, and it's in this area. I know there's mining going on here, but I was attracted to the area by an earthquake app, and I was following earthquakes because they seem to be in a very unusually, you know, grid pattern, and you don't see that in quakes, swarms, and things like that. So it really caught my attention. But then right in the middle there, see there? That's, to me, right now we're 40 miles up, and it's still hard to find. But now that I see it, it's even though it's hard to find, I still can. But it's right there. To me, it sticks out like a sore thumb. It's amazing, and it's perfectly square. You have to realize the engineering involved in something like this. It's outrageous. That's why I do not think it, or I know it doesn't have anything to do with the mining operations, which are still going on. There's silver mines. It's the Candelaria mines, and they're very famous. There's a cemetery nearby we'll show you. But it's a very interesting area. But this has nothing to do with the mining operations. It's too far away. It's on a flat plateau, and it is immense. We'll do some measuring here, give you an idea how huge this thing is. And again, keep in mind, it's perfectly square. It's difficult to square up a building, let alone something that's 1,800 feet across by 1,800 feet. Think about that. So if this was part of a mining operation, it seems like it would cost millions of dollars to make this. It would be ridiculous. And the top platform, there's a 53-degree angle from the base to the top, which is, by the way, 300 feet high, is 1,000 feet by 1,000 feet. You can literally put 4 modern aircraft carriers on top of this thing. That's how huge it is. Plus the fact that it's 300 feet tall. That's the size of a 30-story building. Think about it. This thing is huge and incredibly engineered. It's perfectly square. It's perfectly level on the top. It's sitting on a perfectly level landscape, and you can see there's no scarring around it. I mean, there's some minor scarring, but there's no, for the most part, it looks like the rest of the terrain. You can see the erosion marks all around it that are uninterrupted except by the platform itself or the pyramid base itself, which would indicate that this is not a recent construction. And furthermore, I mean, the mining has been going on since the mid 1800s. Back then they just had horse and buggy. They couldn't have done this. Again, obviously they have to deal with what they call, see the 53-degree angles on all 4 corners, perfect. That's how I was able to calculate the height at nearly 300 feet. That's incredible. This thing is immense. And I believe it's been totally overlooked, obviously, by current miners and prospectors in the 1800s probably didn't realize what it was because they didn't have airplanes. When you drive by this thing, it looks just like a huge mountain ridge. But you can see that, I want you to pay attention to this. You can see there's no erosion. There seems to be some sort of, I don't even know what to call it, some kind of sort of covering, obviously. But let's measure these. See this grid pattern in there? It's very regular all the way around. Let's measure them. They're all about 17, 18 feet across, maybe in reality 16. And then we'll measure the height. But this is interesting. And then with the tundra on top of it, it's not tundra, but it's like desert. You could even see shrubbery growing on it. But this is important to realize. But they're like 16 by 7 or 17 by 7 or thereabouts. But they're all very, for the most part, regular. and they're very visible with this covering on it. And again, you could see the shrubbery growing on it. There's no runoff. There's no erosion. And this is a point that's important because I'll show you those other what are actually slough piles from the mining operation, byproducts from mining. They spend as little time with the byproducts. See how irregular that all is with the horizontal and vertical. Most of the vertical ones that are most regular, but the horizontal ones are as regular as you expect with runoff. But again, there's no erosion from the runoff. It's fascinating. And I'm always very excited to do these videos because this thing is amazing. And I believe it's been totally overlooked. And as far as the prospectors not being able to tell what it is other than a big, huge ridge, 300 feet tall. See, there's no rubble along the bottom. But modern day miners probably just assumed it was part of earlier mining operations and don't give it a second thought. This thing was overlooked, I'm telling you. Here's like a major runoff area there. But you could clearly see the color is totally different too than the actual piles from the mining operations, the byproducts, the slough piles, if you will. But look at this, even the grid, the pattern on the top is very unusual. You could see horizontal crisscross patterns, horizontal patterns, vertical patterns throughout the entire top. There's like this no way, just to keep the top flat, if this was byproducts from mining operations, why would they keep the top so flat and perfectly flat at that? And this has no sign of modern construction. And again, why would they do it? To what end? Why would they take mining material that they have to spend as minimal amount of time as possible on and make this perfect square and maintain a perfectly 53-degree slope and a perfectly flat top level to, here's the mines, the surface mines. See, these are the slough piles. They're filling these ravines here. They don't make piles, they fill. This one over here, they fill the ravine. They just go as close to the mine as possible and dump and leave. And here you can clearly see the erosion. And around the bottoms of them, there's debris. But these are clearly slough piles and byproducts from the mining operation, which again, they spend as minimal amount of time on as possible, believe me. But you could see, there's not much debris along the bottom because the slope's pretty gradual. But on some of these other piles, there's a cemetery. See that? See the Candelaria mines, and this is the Candelaria Cemetery. Those are all very old cemetery plots. So these are probably from the miners and early prospectors in the early 19th century and mid-19th century and beyond. But you can tell there's not very many new graves in there. But so this has been going on, obviously, for a while, but that's always been the big argument, is people say, well, that's not a pyramid. That's from the mining operations. See here, you just see they fill. They go along the edge and dump it. And look at all that debris along there. See, that's because that's a steeper slope. But they're just filling that ravine with byproducts from the silver mining operations that have been going on for over 100 years or more. Well over 100 years. So you can see, there it is. That's what the mining operation. I believe it's still going, and that earthquake activity had such a fine grid pattern to it, unmistakable. That's what caught my attention. I wasn't looking for pyramids. I was just interested in the earthquakes in the area. But no doubt that's from current mining operations or tunneling operations. Who knows what's going on there? But see the difference in color? It's a huge difference. And this thing is just, sticking out like a sore thumb. But it's been overlooked. Here it is from the roadside view. I think it's Route 95, goes 3 miles away from it. And here it is zoomed in out a little more. You could clearly see the sharp slopes, very crisp and sharp and equal, and the super flat top. It's just here it is really zoomed in. The pixelation kind of starts distorting it to somewhat, but keep in mind it's just the camera shot from this is 3 miles away. There it is at 3 miles away, but you can clearly see it. It looks like a part of the mountains in the background. It's amazing. I always, that's exactly like I would picture it looking like had you been driving up to it. But this has been overlooked. It's just assumed that this is part of the mining operation, by the current miners and everybody around. And, there may be people who know about this, but they're not going to talk about it because then everybody's going to wonder why there's a prehistoric pyramid. And then others have asked about the ley lines. And look at how close they are to this thing. Right there, there's a whole cluster of them. Which is really amazing. I mean, it's not right at that intersection. Here's the ley lines in Nevada, and they go right between these two lines right there. That's where it is, right there. So it's taking advantage of two ley lines. Our ancestors knew a lot more about this stuff than we do, and there it is down here, how close it is. And that's something. They knew a lot more than we did. In fact, the builders of this pyramid are what I call the ancients to the ancients. The builder race. They were, everything was about form and function with them, but those were ancient people to our ancients. But there again, there's the clear difference. That was Apple Maps. That one showed the difference even more in color. Huge difference in color. And some may say, well, why is it not facing true north? Because you have to realize that prehistoric north was 23 degrees, off to our north right now. So, and that's exactly what this pyramid is, 23 degrees off true north, like many megalithic structures that are around on the earth. And this guy's a great example. I mean, this guy, in fact, I told him about this pyramid and he was very intrigued. Whether he's looked into it more, I don't know. But this guy is what they call pseudo-archaeologist, forbidden archaeologist. He knows that humanity goes way, way back. Here's another good shot of it from 3 miles away. I mean, you wouldn't, if you knew, it's definitely artificial. There's no doubt about it. But it wasn't built recently. It wasn't built back in the 40s. It certainly couldn't have been built in the, in the 1800s, because I did some calculating the volume of this thing. This thing has 24 million cubic yards of material in it. Picture a 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot cube in front of you and add that by 24 million. That's what's in this pyramid. It's amazing. And it's obviously not finished. If it was, it would have really stuck out. But I think the glaciers were encroaching and they had to stop it, or some global cataclysm stopped it. Which there's evidence all around that's what happened at least 12,000 years ago at the end of the last ice age. But I believe this may have been being constructed during the ice age and it was stopped because the glaciers came too far south. Because I think this is like in the I forgot which parallel it's on, 45th parallel or something like that. So here you can see, ironically, there's a lake about 140 miles northwest of this pyramid that's called Pyramid Lake. Now, isn't that ironic? But that's not why they call this lake Pyramid Lake, because of the prehistoric. Because again, this is something that hasn't been known. I believe it's been overlooked. But they call it Pyramid Lake because this mountain is nearby. And it looks like a really awesome place. I've had subscribers tell me that they've been there before. But I just think it's, the irony about it is pretty amazing. Little do they know that literally there is a prehistoric pyramid, or at least the base of a pyramid, that's only 140 miles southeast of this location. Here's an island on the lake that's called Pyramid Island. So it has a nearby pyramid-shaped mountain in the background, and it's also got an island within the lake that's kind of pyramid-shaped from certain angles, I guess. But that's why they call it Pyramid Lake. It has nothing to do with this discovery, which again I believe is totally been overlooked. I think geologists might have noticed it, and of course when the advent of airplanes came around, if somebody happened to go over it, but you saw how hard it was to find on Google Earth. I mean, you'd have to go directly over it, you know, to catch it even then with an airplane. This is a beautiful view of a Pyramid Lake with Pyramid Mountain in the background. Boy, I'd like to see that. Maybe lodge there while I go investigate the pyramid site. Because I'd love to get there on, you know, get some boots on the ground and get a shovel and a pick and see what's underneath that topsoil. I bet there's casing stones, 6 by 16 foot casing stones throughout, which would prove, you know, I doubt if there's any loose filling under there, because if there was, it would have been eroded by now. But that's a prehistoric pyramid, and nearby is a Pyramid Lake. Again, it's just a coincidence. There's no correlation. I just thought it was ironic and also beautiful, something beautiful to look at the end of this video. But I do like talking about that pyramid. Here's the Apple map again. See the color difference is way different. The pyramid on the upper right, obviously perfectly square. The engineering involved is astronomical. I can't even tell you how hard it would be to make a perfect 1,800 foot by 1,800 foot square. And it's the engineering involved and the economics involved would make it currently impossible, you know, totally impossibly out of the picture. And so why would miners do it? It would cut into their profits. You know, so it would be, this was not recently made. This was made in prehistoric times. And with that, I thank you for watching, and we'll talk at you later. Love you.